This is probably one of our most popular colours. It's Moroccan Flame, which is a lovely orange colour, and as I say, with the actual black stripes, the graphite wheels, the interior as well, it looks absolutely fantastic. Very, very happy with it, and I'm sure our customer will be as well. And then we get to the interior here, as you can see, what we've done is with the dashboard, we've covered it in some nice carbon effect. So again, you know, it really sets the car out. It's nice and easy to keep clean. You just wipe it down with a damp cloth, and exactly the same with all the interior panels as well. Again, you know, it's absolutely super easy to keep these clean, no problem at all. And then let's take us to our seats. And again, this was one of the big changes that we did in 2020. What we wanted to do was we wanted to give our customers just a little bit more room. So rather than having like a bucket type seat, we've actually made them flat on the bottom. And again, you know, you just have a mixture of leather, and in the center here there's some really nice Alcantara, and obviously we've got the Raptor decals. And what you can do actually is when you're ordering the car, you can actually have like a different coloured piping. So obviously here we've got the orange piping to match the car, so it really does look super good, you know. Very impressed with it. And one of the other big changes that we did was we actually stopped using the old Ford sort of Type 9 boxes. Some people question their reliability. Personally, I've ran and still run any caboose with a Type 9 box, but do you know what? We wanted just to move on to something a little bit nicer, a little bit lighter, something just with a slicker shift, and now we're on to the 5-speed. This car in particular was spec'd up for a 6-speed manual, and again, it's absolutely superb. We love it. It's tremendous. Let's get onto the actual heart of this machine, and here we have. This is the 1.6 ST engine that came out of the Fiesta. We are obviously running it on our standalone ECU, fully mapped. There is a few little restrictions that we take out of the engine, but it's not really much at all, to be honest with you. Power wise, 235 brake horsepower and just over 280 foot-pounds of torque. The car itself weighs 560 kilos, and as you can imagine, the performance is just stunning, absolutely stunning. This thing absolutely flies. And why only the 1.6 EcoBoost, you may ask, you know, when there is a 2-litre available? You know, there basically is a couple of reasons, to be honest with you. Obviously this is quite a tight engine, turbochargers, you've obviously got quite a lot of heat in there, and you know what can happen is you can get yourself into all sorts of trouble with heat soak and everything else. So the 1.6 was a smaller unit. These units can make absolutely unbelievable horsepower. The other significant factor for us in particular was that it's an all aluminium engine, super light. I mean, it's about 75 kilos without the turbo. What does that equate to, you may ask? Well, if you've got yourself a ZZR14 engine, that's roughly about the same weight, so they really are light. You know, and obviously if you can keep the weight down in these cars just over the nose, you know, they handle fabulously, absolutely superb. Another issue that we really had to address was, as manufacturers, emissions. This is a big issue when we come to IVA. Obviously these STs, they are Euro 6 spec. We can meet current emission standards, hence why this is a new car, and it's on a 20 reg. You know, and the other thing as well is these things are direct injection, so low emissions. Fuel economy is absolutely superb. Throttle response, power. I mean, let's face it, 1.6 litres making over 285 foot-pounds of torque. What an awesome bit of kit. We love them. And this is one of our best sellers. EcoBoost, everyone loves them. And as you can see in the bottom left, you know, it's got basically fly-by-wire throttle. So, you know, you can run variable boost levels. You you know, and for argument's sake, if it's a little bit wet, or you know, you just want to just kind of take it easy, you can throw it onto a lower boost setting, and then if you want to have fun and crack on, you can turn it into another one, another setting as well to give you a higher boost. The other thing as well, with being electronic throttle, you can run things like traction control as well. That's available to you. You know, and you know, the whole ethos around a Raptor is that, you know, we're really hunting down for, you know, today's technology to put into these cars, because let's face it, you know, the handling of these cars is absolutely awesome, and they can well and truly handle the extra power that's available. Braking wise, we're just running a single solid disc on lightweight aluminium 4-pot calipers. And to be honest with you, for a car this weight, that is all you really need. You know, you don't need to be putting massive big vented discs and everything else on it, you know. And the other thing as well is that, you know, that you must actually take into consideration is, you know, the more weight that you have in that wheel, then that affects the actual handling in turn as well, because obviously you have more weight on the wishbone. So honestly, fabulous. Brakes are just pull your eyes out your sockets. Again, on the rear, we've just used a single solid brake on the back. You have a standard caliper. Yes, we've got a different spec of pad in there, you know, that obviously just gives us a little bit better bite in braking. But again, you know, just, you know, braided hoses, good brake fluid. And as I say, you would never fade these brakes, never in a million years. Tyre wise, we're running the Yokohama 8008s. Again, absolutely fantastic wheels, fantastic tyres I should say, absolutely superb, fabulous grip that you get from them, dry and wet. So they're not as hardcore as, you know, your sort of R888s, so they're very good. Because this car puts out 280 foot-pounds of torque, what we did was we chose to run an 18-inch rim on the back and a slightly wider tyre as well on the back, and it's just basically down to grip, just to give you that. And to be honest with you, they cope fine, absolutely fine with that. One of the other changes that we implemented for 2020 was to redesign the rear diffuser. It's now a little bit longer now, and the advantage of that is that it quite literally gives you a flat bottom floor, and as I say, the fins have been changed as well, and you know, obviously, you know, you've got the clean air that sweeps underneath it, and basically it does give you a little bit of downforce, you know, to a certain degree. Obviously, you know, the car's not dragging on the floor. But as I say, there again, it still works very good. And one of the other things that we added this year as well was the limited slip differential. Obviously, again, just because it's 284 foot-pounds of torque, we just felt that, you know, you just needed that assurance, someone there taking control, just in case. You know, as I say, it absolutely works fantastically. Absolutely brilliant, very sure-footed, and you know, these cars are not good drift cars at all. You know, they're well planted, absolutely superb. The other thing that we did as well this year was we actually put rear toe on the back of them as well, and obviously, you know, this thing gives you the fine adjustment, and as I say, you know, it really does help stability, you know, when driving in a straight line, or even if you're going over undulations in the road. So, you know, that works very well. Unique to the RR235, gives you a nice little boost gauge, which I think is an absolute superb little touch, and then you have a nice oil pressure gauge as well. We also use a TFT digital dash system. And again, this is absolutely fantastic. And what you can do is, which I quite like, some of the features is you can actually program a high oil level temperature into it and a higher coolant level temperature into it as well. You can also set like a speed warning light as well, which again I think is absolutely superb. And there's some great little screens and functions, and you can kind of customize it as well as you want. The other thing as well that we've done with this unit as well is just with the intercooler pipework, it gives you an intercooler air temp as well, which is great. And again, you know, I just firmly believe that having too much information is never really a downfall. But yeah, great. And the other thing as well, it has a wonderful little draggy app built into it, so you can do 0 to 60s, and you can do a quarter mile if you want to do. And yeah, it's a great little unit. And I think one of the things I've liked about it most is when you're out, because it's a TFT unit, you know, it's always very clear. You know, you can see exactly what you're doing, you know, which is great. Love it. I think it's brilliant. One of the biggest questions that we get asked all the time is, do the Raptors come with full windscreens? And the answer to that is quite simply yes, they are actually standard fitment. But what tends to happen is, when customers come up here for a look at the product, we talk through the advantages and the disadvantages of a screen, and to be honest with you, I'd say 95% of sales are all aero screen. It's a little bit Marmite, to be honest with you. Some people feel that the car looks a little bit bare without them. My own personal preference is I like the aero screens. It's a little bit more aggressive sort of look about the cars as well. I tend just to wear my sunglasses and a soft cap if I'm kind of just, you know, around the town or somewhere like that, not out on the open roads. On the open roads, to be honest with you, for your own safety, you're better off with a bike helmet, and I find it actually quite comfortable, to be honest with you. Nice and warm, obviously. I don't really have an issue with it. On the negative side of the actual windscreen, I'm basically 6'7", so I'm very tall. And what I find is that when I sit in the car with a windscreen, my head is actually above it, and it doesn't look. I don't look too great in it, to be honest with you. So that's why I kind of prefer the actual windscreen. The aero screen rather than a windscreen. The other thing as well is, to be honest with you, you know, the windscreen wipers are not the most effective. I also find that the actual aluminium frame kind of obscures my view a little bit. So, but as I say, it's Marmite. It's entirely up to you. It's not really an issue. What we have done actually is the cars now come with heated seats, and obviously, you know, that's a more cost-effective method of actually keeping yourself warm rather than kind of blowing hot air from you know, vent assemblies in the actual dashboard area onto you. So, you know, especially in an open top car, it doesn't really work very well. So, you know, if you're sitting on a heated seat, that honestly absolutely fantastic, and that works so much better. And as you can see just from the top of the aero screen, you know, it's got a really kind of steep rake, you know, and this is very good, because what it actually does is it just whips the air totally above your head, which is good. And you know, believe it or not, even if you do get caught out in the rain with an aero screen, certainly if you are making forward motion, you know, the water just doesn't touch you, it just whips straight over your head, you know. So don't be under any disillusion that because you've got an aero screen, you know, you're just going to get soaked. It just simply doesn't happen, you know. It really is very good. As I say, I don't think I would. I certainly wouldn't spec up a windscreen for myself in a personal car anyway, you know. But it's your preference, guys. It's there. It's standard of fitment. It doesn't cost you any more. And to be honest with you, with an aero screen, you know, we can easily change that, and it works out as just a little bit cheaper as well, you know. So you can save a little bit of money. 2020 also brought changes to the actual front suspension assembly. What we basically did was we just moved the rockers further up, a little bit further inboard, and because we did this allowed us to kind of just relocate the actual steering rack assembly, and this basically made massive changes to the bump steer, and as I say, really improved things. The other thing that we did was we put adjustable road height on the front. The old system, you had to strip the rockers off and then adjust it and tighten up the nuts. Now it's just a simple case of undoing 2 lock nuts, and then you can screw the actual push rods up or down, you know. So again, you know, it's a really big difference. We tend to use the Protect dampers. They're full coilover design. There's 13 clicks of adjustment on them, and you know, again, you can have it really subtle and soft, or you can have it rock hard if you want, but nice stuff. In terms of cooling, as you can see, we've got a nice front mounted intercooler there. Behind there in the back is the aluminium radiator for the cooling water system, and behind that you've got a coolant fan. The coolant fan assembly itself, it's actually wired into the ECU, and if need be you can just plug in the ECU, go into the software options, and you can quite literally just change the temperature you want the fan to come on. Another addition is some little sort of side gills, as I call them, and yeah, basically the whole object is obviously the car almost swallows the air from the front of the nose cone, and then basically just circulates out and comes out through the side. And as I say, certainly when you've got a turbocharged application like this, you know, you really don't want, you know, the hot air to get almost stuck inside that chamber, because as I say, you know, you really need cold air into a turbo just to kind of make it run very efficiently. So this is the way that we've done it, and as I say, it works very, very well. This spec of Raptor was spec'd up for a half cage, which is actually quite popular, to be honest with you, and it's really, really quite nice as well. We always ensure that the height of the cage is actually above your head for obvious reasons. We see quite a lot of this going along, people with cages and then the head going above it, so you know, it's not really very safe. And obviously you've got the diagonal bars just sitting there at the back, and basically what we've done is we've actually put these diagonal bars actually tie into the rear subframe assembly, and that's for 2 purposes. Obviously, you know, it actually makes the rear cage more rigid, and not only that, it offers some structural support to the actual suspension cradle as well. So this one here is a nice piano black. We have a gloss black, we have a matte black. These 3 options are no additional cost. However, you can spec up different colours. The fuel filler actually sits on the top. As you can see, it's, you know, it's a lockable item as well. And again, this was another idea that I really wanted to implement it, just because I'm so tall. One thing that I always used to annoy me was that the fuel filler halfway down the back of the car, you know, and you're bent over double just trying to actually fill the car. And to be honest with you, by the time you'd actually realise that the car was full, half of the petrol was all over the car. So we just put it at the top. You've obviously got a lot higher distance between the level of the tank and the top of the hose, so it just quite literally just clicks off. Very simple, very easily. Another thing that we wanted to do as well was to give you like a long range tank. So this one's 35 litres. Generally in the industry, the majority of people's tanks are between 22 to 25 litres. So you've got a little bit more space there. If you did opt for a CS version, which is the Club Sport one, we just use the tiny little 15 litre tanks. That's really all you need for, you know, for track day and motorsport stuff. And again, in this constant battle that we have between temperature management, you can see in the top there, there is a vent on the front of the bubble of the actual bonnet assembly itself, and again, you know, it just gets air in there, you know, and almost just drives that hot air out of it as well. You'll also see on the left hand side there, we've got the little sort of eyelet there, and again, you know, that was purposely put there because that's very, very close to the actual turbocharger exhaust manifold, and again, just to vent that cooling stuff out of there. And same on the other side, we've got ourselves a nice little gill as well, just to get that air out of that. All our silencers now the cats are actually incorporated into them now, so you no longer have a separate sort of looking cat that's almost like an afterthought. So you know, appearance wise they're just certainly a lot smaller. Our EcoBoost we basically run a 3-inch exhaust system right the way through, and again, you know, that's why we're making such phenomenal power. You know, we're up to over 380 horsepower now out of these EcoBoosts. You know, just unbelievable. If you take yourself back 20-25 years ago, where you were fitting cams and headwork and carburetors, and you know, absolutely chuffed to bits, you were getting 30 horsepower more. You know, the world has changed. We've actually got an immobilizer. Obviously this actually controls the fuel pump, and as I say, without that touchpad, no one is going to manage to take this car away. The other option that we have as well is we're actually an authorised fitting centre for trackers, and as I say, these can easily be fitted when we're actually building the cars for you. All factory built Raptors come with a maintenance record, and we can also offer some service packages. These are either available in 1, 2 or 3 years, and at least it just gives you peace of mind that your car's been looked after properly. And obviously, you know, from a resale point of view, a car with a full service history is always beneficial.